Hi, I'm a Sand Recap and this is a movie to get. Mad Max, Fury Road, 2015. With the assistance of a group of female prisoners, a psychotic worshipper, and a drifter by the name of Max, a woman fights against a tyrannical ruler in a post-apocalyptic wasteland in search of her homeland.
But I guarantee you that 160 days ride that way.
A two-headed lizard comes close to Max as he stands on a ridge and looks around. He stomps on it before eating it. He drives off, and a group of scavengers known as the War Boys, all pale and suffering from radiation sickness, quickly follow him. Before they can capture Max, they chase him through the desert and force him to crash. Max is taken by the War Boys to their hideout in the Citadel, a maze of caves on a very high mesa. He has his face and head shaved. They intend to use him as a blood supply and tattoo a notice on his back stating that he is a universal blood donor. They nearly brand him with an image of a burning skull as they cover the lower part of his face with an iron muzzle shaped like a trident, but he breaks free and flees the War Boys. The Citadel's extensiveness, ample water supply, and greenhouses are demonstrated by the chase through the caves. Max continues to see images of the deceased as he runs before reaching an elevated exit. He leaps out and grabs a swinging hook, but he keeps swinging back at the War Boys, who are able to drag him back into the tunnel. In the stronghold, there is an enormous local area of survivors lorded over by the head of the conflict, young men. Immortan Joe. Air hoses are attached to a bellows system on Joe's back to help him breathe, presumably because his lungs are damaged, and he wears a grotesque face mask made of horse teeth set in a large pair of jaws. He provides the crowd below the Citadel with water as he speaks, causing them to run wild and fight for it when Joe turns it off after a few seconds. In order to prevent the people from becoming irrational due to the absence of water, he warns them not to become dependent on it. After that, Joe sends Imperator Furiosa, played by Charlize Theron, out in a massive war rig to get fuel from Gastown, accompanied by War Boys in smaller vehicles. Furiosa's lower left arm and hand are replaced by a metal prosthesis. Furiosa deviates from the path and heads east on the road toward Gastown, which is represented by a group of oil refineries in the distance. When Joe notices the change, he rushes to the locked rooms where he keeps his 5 wives, young women chosen to have children with him. Our children will not be warlords and who killed the world are written on the walls now that they are all gone. Joe is advised by an elderly woman that he cannot own a human. Joe is getting the women from Furiosa, which is causing him to gather the War Boys and go after her. Max is chained to 𝐒𝐿𝐲 and connected to the driver via a central line transfusion tube because one of the War Boys, 𝐒𝐿𝐲, is so weak that he needs a blood bank. All of the War Boys are eager to join the chase. 𝐒𝐿𝐲 is willing to put his life in danger for his leader because the War Boys believe that Immortan Joe can lead them to Valhalla. The Buzzards, another tribe that scavenges, attack Furiosa's war rig as the War Boys ride after it like a ship's figurehead. 𝐒𝐿𝐲 fastens Max to the hood of his car and eagerly pursues Furiosa with the others. They try to get near the rig, but Furiosa pushes most of them away, and the War Boys fight back with spears with explosive tips. As Max tries to escape, 𝐒𝐿𝐲 approaches the rig. Furiosa speeds toward a massive sandstorm that is approaching, despite the fact that they are entering perilous sand tornadoes. 𝐒𝐿𝐲 continues to pursue her. A couple of war young men are killed in the tempest, while 𝐒𝐿𝐲 plots a kamikaze run by spilling his fuel inside his vehicle. When Max is able to overpower him and put an end to him, he plans to light it on fire with a flare. In the storm, the two collide. Max wakes up to find that his muzzle is still on and that he is still chained to an unconscious 𝐒𝐿𝐲. He grabs a shotgun and tries to shoot 𝐒𝐿𝐲 off the wrist, but the gun doesn't fire. He walks over to Furiosa's rig after seeing the splendid 𝐒𝐚𝐻men, Toast the Knowing, Capable, 𝐒𝐲𝐬𝐿 the Fragile, and the Dag removing their chastity belts with bolt cutters. Splendid and Dag are both carrying Joe's child, who is 9 months old. Max demands the hose while pointing the shotgun at the women. He orders them to use the cutters to cut off his chain after drinking. Dag tries to break it, but he fails. Furiosa can make out in the distance that Joe has gathered reinforcements from other towns that provide the Citadel with gas and ammunition. The People Eater and the Bullet Farmer are in charge of the approaching forces. Max and Furiosa battle as he attempts to cut the chain that attaches him to 𝐒𝐿𝐲. Max fights Furiosa with the assistance of the other women after 𝐒𝐿𝐲 wakes up. Max tries to take the rig for himself after 𝐒𝐿𝐲 cuts the chain. However, Furiosa installed a kill switch, and she alone knows how to restart it, which causes it to stall. She is allowed back on the rig by Max, but he does not want to take the other women. Furiosa demands that they go alone, as she is directing them to an area she calls the green spot. Max gives in when Furiosa tells him that Joe's gratitude to Max will probably end in a slow, painful death. 𝐒𝐲𝐧𝐫𝐞 sneaks on board as they leave in the war rig. He slows the truck down by disconnecting the brake line from the fuel pod. On the tanker, Max crawls out and reconnects the line. With the help of a file that Furiosa gives to him, Max is able to remove his face mask during this portion of the chase. Furiosa steers the truck into a canyon, where she and a group of biker robbers have made a deal. They'll close the pass behind her with a stone slide to thwart her followers in return for the 3,000 gallons of fuel in the trailer case. She asks Max his name after teaching him the sequence of switches to throw to defeat the kill switch. She tells him, "When I yell fool, drive out of here quickly," because he doesn't want to tell her. They see Joe and his troops approaching. Furiosa gets out and announces to the bikers that, in accordance with the agreement, she has brought the 3,000 gallons of fuel and will detach the pod. She said there would be a few pursuers, but there are 3 large parties, according to one of the bikers. Furiosa yells, "Fool," while evading putting the truck between her and the bikers, and manages to re-enter the vehicle as Max moves the rig away in between shots. Joe's pursuit was temporarily halted when the bikers detonated the overpass. Despite the fact that she never detached the fuel trailer, Furiosa and Max used their respective skills as marksmen to repel the biker gangs as they race off. Immortan Joe, in his enormous wheeled, rough terrain vehicle, can move over the rockfall. He's joined by 𝐒𝐲𝐽𝐻, who demonstrates that mind-blowing is on Furiosa's apparatus with a piece of fabric he'd taken from her. The desert is the scene of yet another chase. While Joe catches up, the warboys keep trying to catch up to the rig. Joe is unable to do anything without injuring his potential son as a result of his attempts to shoot at the rig until Splendid emerges as a human shield. Joe sprays chrome paint on 𝐒𝐲𝐻's mouth in an effort to assist 𝐒𝐲𝐻, promising to bring him to Valhalla's gates if 𝐒𝐲𝐻 succeeds. Joe continues to drive in disbelief even though 𝐒𝐲𝐻 quickly misplaces his gun. Splendid tries to get back to the front of the truck by climbing up, but she falls off and is hit by Joe's car. The ladies advise Max to turn around. However, when he tells Furiosa that Impressive went under the wheels, Furiosa says they should continue onward. Splendid is pleading with the others. Joe, holding Splendid's body, screams in rage behind them. With the assurance that he will assist the women in evading Joe, 𝐒𝐲𝐻 returns to the truck. He is devastated that he has failed Joe yet again and has missed out on the opportunity to join his personal army and lies on the floor. He is consoled by Capable. Furiosa tells Max about the green place and how she was taken there as a child at the front. The rig gets stuck in a large mud field as they keep driving through the night. The slug rancher isn't a long ways behind them. Furiosa gets a clean shot, destroying the bullet farmer's lights and blinding him. After Max misses with his shot, 𝐒𝐲𝐻 suggests that they pull the truck forward by securing the winch cable to a nearby tree. Angus Sampson, Joe's lieutenant, the organic mechanic, takes Splendid's lifeless body and removes the baby from her abdomen. He tells Joe that it was a boy. Despite the fact that the baby is also dead, Joe reveals that he had a brother to his adult son 𝐼𝐼𝐻𝐿. 𝐼𝐼𝐻𝐿 yells with pride, while Max goes outside to confront the bullet farmer himself. The women keep trying to lift the rig out of the mud. He quickly returns with the bullet farmer's blood on his face and a nice supply of guns and ammunition after a few bright explosion flashes in the distant fog. The Valkyrie is screaming for help when the rig approaches a tower in the morning. Furiosa steps out, revealing to the Valkyrie her mother's name and her affiliation with this clan, despite Max's suspicions that it is a trap. After changing into a robe, the Valkyrie descends the tower. More established ladies, the 𝐒𝐲𝐵𝐿𝐼𝐼, arise. Keeper of the Seeds Melissa Jaffer, the oldest, recognizes Furiosa. Keeper of the Seeds tells Furiosa that she is taking the women from the Citadel to the green place. But the muddy swamp they pass through was the green place and has since vanished. Furiosa walks into the sand, screams in despair, and kneels down. The 𝐒𝐿𝐼𝐼 agree to assist the Citadel women in traversing the salt flats, also known as the dried up ocean, in search of a home, since Joe's greenery and water supply are currently unguarded. Max makes the decision to assist the women in returning to the Citadel because he is still haunted by images of his wife and child. Additionally, they intend to trap Joe and his army in the canyons. The group takes a ride back toward the Citadel. Joe can clearly see them through his telescope and is aware of their strategy. He pursues after gathering his army. The 𝐒𝐿𝐼𝐼 aid in the retaliation. While defending one of her own, the Valkyrie shoots at the warboys until she is run over, while Max uses Joe as a human shield to get Joe to kill the people eater. Max and Furiosa kill some of the warboys. One of the warboys also cuts the neck of Keeper of the Seeds, resulting in her death. Joe takes Toast hostage and holds him captive. On Joe's vehicle, Furiosa is stabbed, and as Joe and 𝐼𝐼𝐻 gain speed, she gets weaker. Toast keeps Joe occupied for long enough for Furiosa to hook Joe's mask onto his car's wheels. "Remember me?" she growls to him as the wheels tear off the mask and kill Joe, removing a portion of his face. 𝐼𝐼𝐻 continues to try to stop them as the rig moves toward the canyon, while 𝐒𝐲𝐻 bids Capable farewell and swerves against the canyon to kill 𝐼𝐼𝐻 and collapse the overpass to end Joe's army. The women safely get off. Furiosa's lungs nearly burst on the way back to the Citadel. To give her air, Max punches a small hole in her side. Max supplies her with a blood transfusion of his own when she begins to lose consciousness. As she closes her eyes, he finally reveals his name. When the group reaches the Citadel, everyone cheers when Max hands the people Joe's lifeless body. They consume Joe's body by dismembering it. The water supply is drained, providing the populace with sufficient water. Furiosa apparently rises to become the new leader. Before he disappears into the crowd to continue on his own path, she and Max make another respectful acknowledgement to one another.